Picture a classic crime scene, an office break room, a single empty glass cake stand, an employee weeping softly in the corner. The annual company red velvet cake is gone. Conducting academic research operates a lot like investigating a crime scene. You face a specific problem, and you need to systematically gather clues, your data, to figure out exactly what happened. Long before an investigator takes a single photo or interviews a witness, they've already made up their mind about how the world works. These deeply held beliefs act like a filter, determining which clues they notice and which ones they ignore. If you want to solve a complex problem or collect reliable data, you have to recognize your own underlying assumptions first. You cannot choose your investigative tools until you know exactly what kind of detective you are. In research, we call this set of guiding beliefs your philosophical worldview. It is the invisible lens through which you see reality and approach your work. Every worldview asks two questions. First, what is truth made of? Is it a solid thing that exists independently? Second, how do we learn it? Can we measure it, or do we only understand it through people's stories? Think of these worldviews as four distinct detective agencies. The agency you work for completely dictates the rules of your investigation. Depending on your answers, you fall into one of four worldviews shown in this table. For example, look at the difference between postpositivism and constructivism. One demands precise measurements and proof. The other looks for multiple meanings in social context. If you send one detective from each of these four agencies to the exact same break room, they will produce four completely different reports about what happened to the cake. Let's meet the post-positivist detective. They walk into the break room convinced that the truth is fixed and objective. For them, every outcome has a clear cause. Something specific happened to that cake, and they are going to find it. To find answers, they rely on numbers. They will measure the radius of the crumbs and log the exact time the fridge door was opened. They know human observation isn't perfect, so they won't claim to have the absolute truth, but they will give you a mathematical probability of who the thief likely is. This is the traditional scientific method. It traces its roots back to 19th century thinkers like the sociologist Emile Durkheim. This lens is the standard choice when your goal is to test a specific theory, isolate variables, and identify concrete causes and effects. Next, the constructivist detective steps into the room. They see things differently. To them, there isn't one single truth. Instead, truth is something people build in their own minds, based on their personal experiences and social interactions. They leave the measuring tape in the car. Instead, they sit down with the employees and ask open-ended questions. They want to hear people's views and understand how they make sense of their time at the office. They aren't trying to identify the physical thief. Their investigation aims to understand the cultural norms and history of this specific office and how those factors shape the way the employees treat one another. This worldview is essential when you want to look at a complex human experience and develop an entirely new theory based on what people are actually living through. The transformative detective skips the crime scene and heads straight to the cubicles of the office's lower-level staff. They believe that research is never neutral. It is always connected to power and a desire for social change. They argue that the other agencies miss the big picture. Traditional methods often overlook the way people are marginalized or treated unfairly. They see the missing cake as a symptom of deeper power imbalances within the company. They work directly with the employees to expose these unfair relationships. They don't just ask who took the cake. They ask who is institutionally denied a seat at the table in the first place. You adopt this worldview when your goal isn't just to describe reality, but to actively change it to improve the lives of the people you study. Finally, the pragmatist detective arrives. They walk in holding a hot delivery pizza. They aren't interested in philosophical debates. They care about what actually works to solve the problem and feed the hungry staff. This detective uses mixed methods. They will use the numbers from the post-positivist and the stories from the constructivist, blending whatever tools they need to find a practical solution. This worldview is the best choice when you prioritize real-world problem-solving over sticking to any single philosophical system. So we have 4 detectives looking at the same empty cake stand. In the world of research, none of them are wrong. Each approach simply generates a different kind of knowledge. Whenever you start a project, whether you are sending out a survey or conducting an interview, you are acting as one of these detectives. Even if the actual culprit is sitting right behind you enjoying a slice of red velvet, your methods determine what you are able to see. Before you write your first research question, look at your own invisible beliefs. Make sure the detective agency you're working for actually aligns with the goal of